Hi everyone, welcome back to the course. In our last video, we covered the basic of object and the difference between the object literal and the constructor. Today, we are going to dive deeper into one of the most important aspect of working with the object. Object is accessing and the setting object properties. This is a fundamental skill you will use constantly in JavaScript. So let's make sure we understand it thoroughly. By the end of this video, you will know multiple ways to work with the object properties and when to use each approach. So let's get started. First, before we dive in, let's quickly recap what an object is. An object in JavaScript is a collection of key value pairs. Think of it like a container that store related data together. And we already know the syntax, right? Now, how do we actually work with these properties? How do we read them? How do we change them? That's exactly what we are covering today. So next topic is accessing property with dot notation. Okay, the most common way to access object property is using the dot notation, and this is totally straightforward and clean. And what is the dot notation? This was the dot notation. Okay. Okay. So this is simple, right? You just use the object name followed by the dot and then the property name. This is actually this is the syntax you will use most of the time. Great. Now, second topic is accessing properties. I mean the bracket notation. The second way to access the properties is using the bracket notation. Instead of a dot, you use the square bracket with the property name as a string. Okay, what is it? Suppose the person, then the bracket notation, then use the name, and you get the output. Now you actually might be thinking, why would I use this? Dot notation is look cleaner, and you are right. But bracket notation is more powerful in a certain situations. Okay, and okay, now bracket notation really shine in three scenarios. First, when your property name contains special character or specific or space. Okay, like so at first we comment it because otherwise showing the error. You see there is there is a object and dot notation won't work here because the console log person dot fast then name actually syntax it's showing the syntax error because there is a fast and name there is a space, it's not working. So bracket notation works perfectly fine here. That's why the some scenario we are using this bracket notation. Second is when you need to use the variable to access a property. Okay, when you actually need this, otherwise don't need. Suppose person, suppose this equal another person, another person, suppose, then use this here and that's perfect. Okay, and this is incredibly useful in a dynamic situation. You see the another person and it's authenticate the property name is and then the another person include this property name, it's showing the 25. Isn't it easy? And third is when property name are stored in variables or come from user input. Okay, suppose you have a person already, we have a person, right? Then in this person we just call this callback function get user info and return the object with keys. Then call the function and the first argument will be the person, this person, suppose just think this person or this person maybe. Then test it out with the key is name, other is city. Okay, and this is perfectly fine. Okay, now this setting property. Now let's talk about this modifying and the adding property. You can use either a dot or bracket notation for these two. The modifying the existing property. Okay, before modifying, just give me a second. I commented out it. Okay, setting property. Okay, the first modify the existing property. What is it? Person. Using the dot notation, we get person dot age is 26. When you console log, you get the 26, the latest data, latest value. And when you are using the bracket notation, and you also get the latest data. Also add a new properties if we need to add it. Suppose person, then adding with the dot notation this person dot city with New York and the country is USA, and the person, when you are console log, you get this information. Okay, great. Actually, you can edit property dynamically at any time. JavaScript objects are incredibly flexible this way. Now, the dynamic property syntax. The bracket notation becomes essential when you need set property dynamically. Okay, suppose person, then the property name, property value, include person with the property name, then the property value, because first is the person property name as the index, I mean the key, and this is the value. Okay, then you get profession is developer. Actually, this pattern extremely useful when building objects based on user input or API response. Okay, next, accessing the non-existing property. Actually, what happens when you try to access the property that doesn't exist? So let's find out. Console log person.city and person with the bracket the country, you get the undefined, right? Because JavaScript doesn't throw an arrow, it's written undefined. This is important to remember because you might need to check if a property exists before using it. Okay, so that's why always use the condition if not undefined, that means city is exist, otherwise city property does not exist. So don't show undefined, use this console log, except this undefined you need to show. Okay, now let's put everything together with a practical example. Okay, we already seen lots of practical example, right? I hope you practice it every day. This is the product, and access the property with the product dot name, and update the property dot product dot price with the new price, then console log, you get the new price, and then again the new property if in stock true or quantity is 50%, or dynamically access with the function create. This is a callback function, and there is a two argument, I mean two parameter, is one is object, another is key, and this object key if not undefined, then console log this key and object key, otherwise the console log is not I think the key is not defined, I mean this is the else. So this function when you are calling and given the array and include the name or value, you get the data. First is brand, when you are using brand and you get the exact result. If you are using the color, actually this color is not exist, then it is showing this color is not found and this color is dynamically set here. Okay, great. Okay, before we wrap up, let's quickly look at the accessing property in nested object. You can access this nested object. This is just a chain that dot or bracket notation to go deeper into the object structure. You see user dot address, then dot this city, okay, or user address zip code, and you get the exact output. And you can mix the notation if you want, user address then the notation, I mean the bracket, and you get the address, I mean the state address. Okay, all right, let's recap what we covered today. Dot notation is the clean standard way to access property. First, second, bracket notation is essential for special character, dynamic property name and variables. Third, you can set and modify properties using either notations. Fourth, accessing existent properties written undefined, not an error. Fifth, both notation work with the nested object, right? Understanding how to work with object properties is crucial because objects are everywhere in JavaScript. You will use these techniques constantly in real world development. In the next video, we will learn how to remove and compare the object properties, which will give us the even more control over our projects, our objects. If you found this helpful, make sure to like and subscribe. Drop a comment if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.